The sky was clear and blue, just like any other day. People went about their normal lives, unaware that everything was about to change forever. Suddenly, without any warning, loud explosions ripped through the cities. Strange ships appeared in the sky, dark and huge, blocking the sunlight. They moved fast, shooting beams of light that turned buildings to ashes. People screamed and ran in every direction trying to find safety. The air filled with smoke and dust, and the world seemed to be falling apart. No one knew where the aliens came from or why they attacked so suddenly. In the chaos, a small group of humans gathered in an old underground bunker. These people were scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens who had survived the first wave of destruction. They were scared, but they knew they had to find a way to fight back. As they listened to the sounds of the war above, their computers suddenly picked up a strange signal. It was weak but clear, coming from deep below the Earth's surface. The signal was different from anything they had seen before, dark, mysterious, and filled with unknown energy. The group stared at the screens in silence. What was this signal? Was it a message? A weapon hidden underground? Or maybe a secret left by someone long ago? No one had an answer. The scientists started to analyze the strange waves, hoping to understand if this signal could be the key to saving humanity. The soldiers prepared their weapons, ready for anything. The tension in the room grew as the signal continued to pulse, sending strange vibrations through the walls. Outside, the world was burning. Entire cities were lost and millions of people were missing or injured. Governments had collapsed and many soldiers had been defeated. The aliens seemed unstoppable, their power far greater than anyone had imagined. But the humans underground clung to one hope, the unknown signal. It was a faint light in the darkness, a possibility that maybe, just maybe, humanity was not yet defeated. As hours passed, the scientists made a shocking discovery. The signal was not just random energy. It contained patterns, almost like a language. It was as if someone or something was trying to communicate. But who? Was it a hidden ally or another enemy? The question made everyone uneasy. They realized that the signal's source was very deep beneath the Earth's crust, in a place where no human had ever been. It was dangerous to go there, but they knew they had no choice. A brave few volunteered to explore the underground tunnels and find the signal's origin. They wore special suits and carried equipment that would help them survive the dark and cold places below. The journey was long and full of challenges. The tunnels were narrow and filled with strange noises that made their skin crawl. Sometimes the ground shook as if something powerful was moving deep inside the Earth. The team pushed forward, driven by the hope that the secret of the signal could turn the war around. Meanwhile, above ground, the alien ships continued their attack. People hid wherever they could, watching the sky in fear. Some prayed for a miracle. Others tried to fight back with what little they had. Stories spread quickly about the small group underground who had found the strange signal. This gave the survivors a glimmer of hope. Maybe humans were not as helpless as they seemed. Maybe there was something darker, something stronger inside them waiting to be unleashed. Back in the tunnels, the explorers reached a massive chamber filled with ancient machines. The technology was old but advanced, glowing with the same dark energy as the signal. It looked like a weapon, but also like a source of great power. One scientist carefully touched the control panel, and the machine suddenly started to hum and light up. The signal grew stronger, filling the room with an eerie glow. The team felt a mix of fear and excitement. They had found something incredible, something that could change everything. But the discovery came with a warning. The machines showed images of past wars and destruction, of power that was both a blessing and a curse. It was clear that this dark force had been hidden for a reason. If used badly, it could destroy not just the aliens, but humanity itself. The team faced a difficult choice. Should they try to control this power and fight the invaders, or should they stay safe and hope for another way? The weight of the decision was heavy, but they knew the world was counting on them. Outside, the battle raged on, louder and more violent than ever. The small group deep underground prepared to use the dark power, knowing it was their last hope. The question remained, would this mysterious force be humanity's salvation or its destruction? The answer was hidden in the darkness below, waiting to be revealed. The storm had come, and now humanity had unleashed something darker. As the explorers looked at each other, they understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The world was at war, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity was ready to fight back, no matter what the cost. The calm before the storm was over. Now the real battle had just begun. The alien invasion continued with terrible force. Their ships filled the sky, casting large shadows over ruined cities and burning forests. Everywhere, humans ran for their lives. Many tried to fight back, but their weapons were weak against the alien technology. The world seemed lost, and hope was fading fast. Leaders from every country met in secret, trying to find a way to stop the enemy. But the aliens showed no mercy. They destroyed anything that moved, spreading fear and chaos everywhere. Deep underground, the small group of humans who found the strange signal worked harder than ever. They believed the secret power, hidden beneath the earth, could be humanity's last chance. The signal was strange and dark, but it seemed to scare the aliens. Soldiers reported that alien ships avoided certain areas where the signal was strongest. This gave the humans a small hope that the signal was not just a weapon, but something more powerful, something the aliens feared. The scientists studied the energy closely and discovered that it came from a force deep inside humans themselves. This energy was part of their DNA, a secret power waiting to be awakened. It was strange and dangerous, but also very strong. Some humans had already started to feel strange changes in their bodies and minds. Their senses grew sharper and their strength increased. But this power was not easy to control. If used carelessly, it could harm the user or others around them. The way soldiers trained day and night to use this new power. The changes frightened some of them, but they knew it was their only chance to fight the enemy. The group sent small teams out to test the power in real battles. At first, the results were mixed. Some teams won small fights against alien patrols, surprising everyone. Others lost members because the power overwhelmed them. The humans learned quickly that this dark power was not a simple weapon. It was a dangerous force that needed courage and control. Meanwhile, the aliens noticed the changes in humans. Their commanders held meetings, confused and angry. They had believed their invasion would be easy, but now they faced something they did not understand. The aliens sent spies to study the humans, hoping to find a weakness. But the more they learned, the more they feared. The dark power inside humans was growing, and it was unlike anything they had seen before. Back in the underground bunker, tensions rose. Some people wanted to stop using the dark power, afraid it would destroy humanity from within. Others believed it was the only way to win. Arguments and fears filled the room, but the team's leader stood strong. He reminded everyone that survival was the most important thing. They had to keep fighting no matter the cost. A dangerous mission was planned. A team of soldiers and scientists would go deep into enemy territory to capture an alien weapon factory. If successful, it could slow down the invasion and give humanity more time to prepare. The team used the dark power for the first time in a major battle. Their strength and speed surprised the aliens. The fight was brutal, but humans won. The weapon factory was destroyed. The victory gave hope to many people on the surface. Stories of brave humans fighting back spread like wildfire. The alien ships still ruled the skies, but now humans had a chance to fight. The dark power was not just a secret anymore. It was a symbol of hope, courage, and resistance. But not everyone was happy. The traitor in the group, working secretly for the aliens, grew angry and jealous. He knew the humans were becoming strong and wanted to stop them by any means. His betrayal would soon threaten everything the group had fought for. The dark power was powerful, but it came with dangers both outside and inside. As the war continued, the humans prepared for even bigger battles. The enemy was strong, But humanity was awakening something darker and more dangerous inside itself. The question was no longer if humans could fight back, but how far they were willing to go to survive. The scientists worked day and night, trying to understand the dark power that was awakening inside humans. They called it the Shadow Force. It was strange and new, and many had never seen anything like it before. This power came from deep, within human DNA, hidden for thousands of years. It was a part of their ancestors, a secret strength that no one had ever used. Now, in this time of great danger, the Shadow Force was rising to protect humanity. Some humans felt the change first. Their eyes glowed faintly and they could sense things others could not. They felt stronger, faster, and sharper. But with this power came a price. Some of these people began to lose control. Their emotions became wild. Anger, fear, and pain grew inside them. The Shadow Force was like a wild beast, hard to tame. If it was not controlled, it could hurt the user or even the people around them. The scientists warned the leaders. This power was a double-edged sword. It could help humans win the war, but it could also destroy everything they loved. Many people were afraid. They wondered, is this power a gift or a curse? Still, the situation was desperate. The aliens were closing in on their last strongholds. The Shadow Force was humanity's only hope, even if it was dangerous. Meanwhile, the soldiers who had begun using the Shadow Force trained hard to control it. They learned to calm their minds and focus their energy. Some became heroes, saving lives in battles that seemed impossible to win. Others lost themselves to the darkness inside and became threats to their own teams. It was a constant struggle between light and dark, hope and fear. One young soldier, named Alex, showed great promise. He was brave and quick, but he also felt the dark power pulling him in many directions. His friends worried about him because sometimes he disappeared for hours, lost in his own mind. But Alex believed he could control the Shadow Force and use it to save humanity. He was determined to prove everyone wrong. Far away, the aliens watched these changes with growing fear. Their leaders held secret meetings. They had never faced an enemy with such unpredictable power. The aliens sent spies and special forces to find out more about the Shadow Force. They hoped to discover its weakness and stop it before it became too strong. But the deeper they looked, the more confused and worried they became. Back on Earth, the team found an old hidden library filled with ancient texts and strange drawings. The writings told stories of an ancient war between humans and dark forces. The Shadow Force was part of this history, a power once used to protect the Earth, but lost over time. The texts warned that the Force was dangerous and must be respected. The group realized that to survive, they needed not only to use the power but to understand it fully. The scientists and soldiers prepared for a new phase of the war. They would send Alex and his team on a dangerous mission to use the Shadow Force deep inside enemy territory. The goal was to capture an alien communication center and learn their plans. The mission was risky, but the team believed in the power within them. They knew the future of humanity depended on their success. As the day of the mission arrived, the world held its breath. The aliens were closing in and time was running out. The humans who had the Shadow Force were no longer just fighters. They were the last hope, carrying a power dark and dangerous, but full of promise. The question remained, would the Shadow Force save humanity, or would it become the very thing that destroyed it? The answer was hidden in the next battle waiting to be revealed. The day of the first major battle had finally come. Alex and his team, now trained to use the Shadow Force, prepared themselves for the mission deep inside enemy territory. The air was thick with tension. Each soldier could feel the strange power growing inside them, like a flame burning quietly beneath their skin. They knew this was no ordinary fight. This was a battle for the very survival of humanity. As they moved through the ruined city, shadows danced around them. The alien patrols were everywhere, their glowing eyes scanning for any sign of life. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the dark energy pulse through his veins. It gave him strength, but also a strange fear he could not shake. The power was wild and unpredictable, but he had to control it. for the sake of his team and for the future of Earth. Suddenly, an alien squad appeared from the smoke. The fight began. Humans moved faster than ever before. Their punches landed harder, and their minds worked sharper. It was like the shadow. Force had awakened a hidden part of them, one that no enemy could match. The battle was brutal and fast. The aliens were caught off guard by the humans' new strength, but the power came with a cost. As the fight went on, some soldiers began to lose control. Their eyes glowed red, and their movements became wild and dangerous. One of Alex's closest friends, Tom, suddenly attacked not just the aliens but also his own teammates. The team struggled to stop him without hurting him badly. It was a painful moment. The power that could save them was also tearing them apart. Alex fought with everything he had. He reached out to Tom, trying to bring him back to himself. Slowly, Tom's wild anger faded, and he collapsed, exhausted and scared. The team knew this was only the beginning. The shadow force was powerful, but it was also a beast that needed to be tamed. If they lost control, they could become their own worst enemy. Despite the challenges, the team succeeded in their mission. They captured the alien communications center and discovered important information about the enemy's plans. The aliens were preparing for a much larger attack, one that could destroy the last human strongholds. The warning was clear. Time was running out. When they returned to the bunker, the team was greeted as heroes. But the victory felt heavy. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The shadow force had given them strength, but it had also shown its dark side. Everyone understood that they had to learn to control this power quickly, or it might destroy them all. Back above ground, the humans who had heard of the team's success felt a new hope. Stories of the soldiers using the dark power spread among the survivors. For the first time in a long while, people believed humanity might fight back and win. The alien ships still ruled the skies, but now the humans had a weapon they never expected, the power within themselves. But in the shadows, the alien commanders were growing desperate. They had lost an important battle, and their spies reported the rise of the shadow force. They knew they had to find a way to stop it before it grew too strong. The war was about to enter a new and dangerous phase, where nothing was certain and every moment could change the fate of Earth. As the sun set on the ruined city, Alex and his team prepared for the next battle. The dark power was both their greatest weapon and their greatest threat. The real fight was just beginning, and the price of victory was still unknown. The war grew fiercer each day. Alien forces launched bigger attacks, trying to crush the human resistance once and for all. Cities were shattered, and millions were forced to live in hiding. Yet, despite the destruction, the humans who had the shadow force kept fighting harder than ever. They were no longer just soldiers. They had become something more, warriors shaped by the dark power within. Alex felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The power inside him was stronger now, but controlling it was harder. At times, it felt like the darkness wanted to take over his mind, pushing him toward anger and rage. He had to fight every day, not just the enemy outside, but also the enemy inside himself. His friends saw the change too. Some worried that Alex was losing himself to the power, but they trusted his strength and heart. The team planned a bold move. They aimed to strike at the heart of the alien command, a massive ship hovering over the last human city. Destroying it could turn the tide of the war. The mission was dangerous. The ship was heavily guarded and shielded by advanced technology. But with the shadow force, the team believed they had a chance. Before the attack, the scientists worked to strengthen the soldiers' control over the dark power. They taught meditation and mental exercises to keep fear and anger in check. The process was slow, and some soldiers gave up, unable to face the darkness inside. But others, like Alex, pushed forward, learning to balance the power with their will. On the day of the attack, the team moved under the cover of darkness. Their eyes glowed faintly with the shadow force as they climbed into strange ships designed to fight the alien technology. The journey was tense and silent, every sound making their hearts race. When they reached the giant alien ship, the battle erupted. Inside the ship, the fighting was even harder. The aliens had traps and deadly machines waiting for them, but the humans moved with strength and speed unlike anything the enemy had seen. The shadow force gave them powers to break shields, dodge attacks, and heal wounds faster. They fought through wave after wave of enemies, refusing to give up. At the center of the ship, Alex faced the alien commander, the one who led the invasion. The commander was powerful and cruel, confident that no human could defeat him. But Alex felt the darkness inside him roar, mixing with his own hope and courage. Their fight was fierce and brutal, shaking the very walls around them. With a final burst of energy, Alex used the shadow force to break through the commander's defenses. The alien fell, defeated. The ship began to collapse, and the humans escaped just in time. The victory was sweet, but came with a heavy cost. Many of Alex's friends were lost, and the power inside him felt more dangerous than ever. When they returned to Earth, the people celebrated. The alien command ship was gone, and hope spread like wildfire. But Alex knew the battle was far from over. The shadow force was changing him and others like him. It was a dark power, and every time he used it, it threatened to take more of his soul. The scientists warned that the power was feeding on fear and anger, growing stronger with every battle. They feared that if the darkness won inside humans, it would become the real enemy, one that could destroy humanity from within. Alex understood the warning, but also knew that without the shadow force they could not win. As the sun set over the broken city, Alex stood alone, feeling the power rise inside him. The war was far from over. The enemy had been pushed back, but something darker had been unleashed. And now, humanity had to face not only the alien invaders, but also the darkness inside themselves. The true battle was only beginning. The days after the battle were filled with both hope and fear. The people cheered the victory, but in secret, the leaders and scientists worried deeply. The shadow force inside the soldiers was growing stronger, and some changes were no longer easy to control. Strange things started happening. Soldiers using the power suddenly disappeared, or they returned changed, quiet, and distant. Alex felt these changes too. The power inside him was no longer just energy. It felt like a presence, something alive and watching. Sometimes he heard whispers in his mind, dark voices tempting him to give in to anger and fear. He fought hard to stay himself, but the struggle was tiring and lonely. The scientists discovered something alarming. The shadow force was connected to a dark energy buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, an energy older than humanity itself. This energy had been locked away for centuries, kept hidden because it was too dangerous. But now, with the war raging, it was awakening. The aliens had unknowingly released it when they began their attack, and now it was spreading like a shadow through the world. Worse, the dark energy was not just in the soldiers. It began to affect ordinary people too. Small towns far from the battle zones reported strange events. People acting strange, sudden storms, and shadows moving on their own. Fear grew among the survivors. Was the darkness becoming a new enemy? Alex's team was sent to investigate one of these strange towns. When they arrived, they found the place empty and silent. The air felt heavy and cold even though it was daytime. Suddenly, shadows moved at the edge of their vision. The team prepared to fight, but this time the enemy was not just aliens. It was something darker, an invisible force that tried to enter their minds and turn them against each other. One by one, the soldiers felt the darkness reach into their thoughts. Some fought it with all their strength, but others began to lose themselves. Alex saw his friends change, their eyes losing focus, their faces growing hard and cold. The shadow force inside them was becoming a prison, trapping their minds in fear and anger. Alex realized the truth. The dark power was a test. It was not just about fighting the aliens outside. It was about fighting the darkness inside. If humanity lost this battle, the war would be lost forever. But if they could learn to control the shadow force, they might save not only the Earth but their own souls. In the heart of the town, Alex found an ancient stone circle covered in strange symbols. The scientists believed it was a place of power, connected to the dark energy beneath the Earth. Alex touched the stones and felt a wave of cold wash over him, but also a faint hope. This place held answers, but also dangers. The team decided to stay and protect the town while the scientists studied the stone circle. They hoped to find a way to control the darkness and stop it from spreading. But the aliens were not far behind. They sent new forces to capture the town and the power beneath it. As night fell, the battle for the town began. This time it was not just a fight of guns and ships. It was a battle for the hearts and minds of everyone involved. The line between friend and enemy blurred. The darkness was no longer just a force of destruction. It was a force that could change who they were. Alex stood ready, feeling the shadow force rise inside him. The real war was no longer just against the aliens. It was a war inside every human soul, a war to keep the light alive in a world growing darker with each passing day. The battle for the town lasted through the cold, dark night. Shadows moved like ghosts between ruined buildings, and the air was thick with fear. Alex and his team fought not just against the alien soldiers, but against the dark energy that tried to twist their minds and hearts. Each moment was a struggle to hold on to who they were. As the fight went on, some of Alex's teammates began to change. The shadow force inside them grew stronger but more dangerous. They lost control and attacked their own friends. Alex had to stop them without hurting them deeply. It was the hardest fight he had ever faced, fighting those he cared about while battling the enemy outside. In the middle of the chaos, Alex remembered the ancient stone circle. He believed it held the key to controlling the darkness. He rushed there, hoping the scientists had found a way to use the power for good. When he reached the circle, the symbols glowed softly, and a strange warmth spread through his body. For the first time, he felt calm inside the storm. The scientists called out to Alex, telling him they had found a ritual to balance the shadow force. It was risky and required great focus, but it might save the team and maybe even the whole world. Alex agreed, knowing it was their last chance. Together with the scientists, Alex began the ritual. He felt the dark energy inside him fight back, trying to pull him away. But this time he did not fight with anger. Instead, he focused on hope, on the people he loved, and the future he wanted to protect. Slowly, the darkness began to change. It became less wild and more controlled. The ritual spread through the town, touching the others affected by the shadow force. One by one, the soldiers and people regained their true selves. The battle did not end immediately, but the darkness lost its grip. The aliens, surprised by this sudden change, began to retreat. As dawn broke, the town was quiet again. The alien threat had been pushed back, and the dark power was no longer a wild beast but a controlled force, a new strength for humanity. Alex looked at his team, tired but alive, and felt hope for the first time in a long while. But the war was not over. The shadow force was still inside them, a power to be respected and controlled. The aliens would return, and new challenges would come. Humanity had awakened something ancient and powerful. It was now up to them to decide how to use it. Alex knew that the greatest battle was not just against the enemy outside, but the darkness inside every heart. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had been tested and found stronger than ever. The enemy had unleashed hell, but humanity had unleashed something darker, and it was ready to fight back. The world was changed forever. After the battle at the town, news spread quickly about the shadow force and how humanity had learned to control it. People everywhere felt a mix of hope and fear. The dark power was now a part of human life, a secret strength that could protect or destroy depending on how it was used. Alex and his team became leaders in this new world. They traveled from city to city, helping others learn to control the shadow force. Training centers were built and new soldiers were taught how to balance the power inside them. It was not easy. Many struggled and some lost their minds to the darkness. But slowly humans grew stronger and more united. The alien forces, now weakened, began to change their tactics. They no longer attacked in large groups but used smaller, faster teams to avoid the humans' new strength. They also tried to study the shadow force, hoping to find a way to turn it against humans. The war became a dangerous game of cat and mouse, with each side trying to outsmart the other. Behind the scenes, Alex struggled with his own fears. The shadow force was still inside him, whispering dark thoughts when he was alone. Sometimes he felt like the power was not just part of him but something living, something waiting for the right moment to take control. He kept these fears hidden from his friends, but they were always there. One day during a training session, a young soldier lost control and attacked the instructors. Alex rushed in to stop him, using all his strength to calm the young man without hurting him. It was a reminder that the shadow force was not just a weapon but a test of character. Power without control was dangerous. The scientists discovered more about the ancient dark energy beneath the earth. They found places where it was stronger, places they called shadow wells. These wells were sources of power but also places of danger. Teams were sent to guard these wells and study them, hoping to unlock secrets that could help humanity. Alex was chosen to lead one of these teams. Their mission was to explore a newly discovered shadow well deep underground. It was a risky mission, but the information they could find might change everything. The team prepared carefully, knowing they would face not only alien threats but also the dark energy itself. As they descended into the dark caves, Alex felt the power grow stronger around them. The air was thick with energy, and strange whispers echoed through the tunnels. The team moved cautiously, knowing that one wrong step could mean disaster. They were entering the heart of the darkness, searching for answers that might save or doom humanity. Outside, the world waited and watched. The war was far from over. The enemy was still out there, and the darkness inside humans was still a threat. But now humanity had a new hope, a chance to use their dark power wisely to fight for their future and to prove that even in the deepest shadows, light could still shine. Deep inside the shadow well, the air was cold and heavy. Alex and his team moved slowly through the twisting tunnels, their senses alert to every sound. The strange whispers grew louder, as if the darkness itself was trying to speak to them. Shadows flickered on the walls, shifting and changing shapes, but no one saw the source. The team reached a large chamber filled with glowing crystals that pulsed with dark energy. The scientists carefully studied the crystals, amazed at their power. Alex felt the energy rise inside him stronger than ever before. It was both frightening and thrilling, like standing on the edge of a great secret. Suddenly, the ground shook. Alien soldiers burst into the chamber, attacking fiercely. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The dark energy seemed to feed the fighting, making everything more dangerous and unpredictable. Alex fought with all his might, using the shadow force to protect his team. In the heat of battle, Alex was separated from the others. He found himself alone, facing a strange figure cloaked in shadows. The figure spoke in a voice that echoed inside Alex's mind, offering him power beyond anything he had known. But the price was clear: surrender to the darkness and lose himself forever. Alex hesitated. The offer was tempting, promising strength to defeat the enemy and save humanity. But deep inside he felt a small light, hope, courage, and love for those he protected. With all his will he rejected the darkness and pushed the shadow figure away. The chamber began to collapse. Alex raced back to his team, fighting through falling rocks and enemy fire. Together they escaped the shadow well just as it sealed, behind them trapping the dark energy inside once again. Back on the surface, the team was exhausted but alive. They had faced the darkness and won, not by giving in, but by holding on to what made them human. The shadow force was still with them, a power to protect and to fear. But now, Alex and his team understood their true strength, their hearts. The war was not over, but the battle for humanity's soul had been won. The enemy might return and the darkness might rise again, but as long as people like Alex stood strong, hope would never die. Humanity had unleashed something darker, yes, but that darkness had shown them their greatest light. And that light was the fight for a future where humans could live free, strong, and united, no matter what came next. After the escape from the shadow well, the world seemed quieter for a short time. The people were tired but hopeful. Alex and his team became heroes, but they knew their work was far from done. The darkness inside the earth was still locked away, But its power was not gone. It waited, like a storm ready to return. The leaders of Earth met to plan for the future. They decided to build a new group, guardians who would watch over the shadow wells and protect humanity from both the alien enemy and the darkness inside. Alex was chosen to lead this group. It was a great honor, but also a heavy burden. Training the new guardians was difficult. Many struggled with the shadow force inside them. Some were afraid of the power, others were tempted by it. Alex taught them what he had learned, that true strength came from controlling the darkness, not letting it control you. He told them stories of the battles they had fought, of friends lost and hope found. Meanwhile, the aliens were not defeated. From the shadows, they watched and planned. Their hatred for humans grew stronger, but so did their fear. They had seen what the shadow force could do, and they knew they could not win without new weapons. Secretly, they began to experiment with the dark energy themselves, risking the same dangers that had almost destroyed humanity. Alex knew a new war was coming, one that would test the limits of his team and the entire human race. But he also believed in the strength of people who never gave up, who fought for each other even when the odds were against them. One night, as Alex looked up at the stars, he felt the shadow force inside him pulse gently, a reminder of the power and the darkness he carried. He smiled, ready for whatever would come next, because humanity had learned a lesson. The greatest battles are not just fought in the sky or on the ground, they are fought inside each person's heart, and as long as that fight went on, hope would never die.